Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast.
Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Siddarth Patil. Siddarth Patil is the co-founder of Comdex. Before co-founding Comdex, Siddarth's professional endeavors centered on finance, with working experience in wealth management and investment banking. He began Comdex in 2018 as a blockchain-based solution to digitize the commodity supply chain industry. Along with the Comdex team, Siddarth launched Comdex Chain in 2021 as a DeFi infrastructure layer to power a multi-chain ecosystem. Well, good afternoon, Siddarth. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Brian. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for jumping on and making the time. I know we coordinate a lot of times to different people to different time zones, but I do appreciate the time. And you've got an amazing agency representing you with Philcom Global, and we're great partners, and we appreciate you making the time. So jumping right in, Siddarth, let's talk a little bit about your career as an advisor, analyst, consultant. Now you're the co-founder of Comdex. Could you share with our audience the secret to your career growth and what inspires you?
Sure. I mean, growing up, the concept of money always kind of fascinated me. And that was kind of a big driver in my entire, educational decision process of landing up as a student of economics and finance. From there on, it kind of just made sense to me to, jump into the kind of professional field of finance as well. And I started off my career, as an investment advisor or a wealth manager for a firm in Canada. But, after spending a few months there, I kind of realized that was a little more, I would say, retail-facing finance, whereas I thought of myself more as an institutional finance person. And that's when I, made the conscious decision of kind of jumping ships into institutional finance. I joined, a management consultant firm in the investment banking arm. Again, spent a whole year working there, learned a lot of things about a lot of different sectors and how they kind of operate, especially when it comes to, what finance typically means to large enterprises and how they kind of think about just managing capital over time. And around 2017, when I was, just a few months into my management consultant gig or the investment banking gig, is when I came in touch with the cryptocurrency space and kind of learned a bit about the blockchain technology. And almost immediately, it was obvious to me that this technology has tremendous potential to disrupt the very space that I kind of spent a lot of time studying and understanding. So, it almost felt like an instinctive decision from there on to kind of commit myself to this space and try to figure out my way of leveraging this technology to contribute to it. But yeah, ever since then, got in touch with a bunch of folks who were in the crypto industry in India at the time. And that's how I happened to meet my co-founder as well. He comes from a tremendous tech background as well. He's very deep into the technology himself. He's been into the crypto space for, I think, since 2013. So pretty long now, almost a decade. And a lot of kind of brainstorming with him led to us forming Comdex, realizing that the potential of this technology is not just to disrupt, small, let's say, customer-facing apps, but is to ultimately build a whole technological layer that can disrupt, the global supply chain ultimately. And that's what we believe the end game for blockchain is. So yeah, that's kind of the journey till now.
Thank you. And I love that your story coming from, traditional fintech into the crypto blockchain space, which is an awesome story. I love that. So Siddarth, next question here. We want to kind of get into what you're working on. Your company provides a variety of inoperable plug and play modules for projects to use to create their own DeFi platforms worldwide. But I know there's a lot of buzz right now around the Harbor Protocol airdrop. Could you speak to that for a little bit here?
For sure. So, for us, the Comdex chain that we've built out, it's part of the Cosmos ecosystem, which is up and coming ecosystem right now. There's a lot of buzz around the ecosystem. One of the things we identified in the space was the lack of a native stablecoin, which was kind of a big, I would say, obstacle to DeFi and Cosmos ecosystem evolving. So Harbor Protocol is an application that we've built on the Comdex chain, which is a protocol for minting the composite stablecoin, which is CMST. And the Harbor token itself is basically the governance token, and it also accrues value as the adoption of CMST grows. So we realized that what we're building in Harbor Protocol is ultimately kind of like a public good that serves the entire Cosmos ecosystem. And in that regard, we realized that the governance of Harbor Protocol is not just a matter of Comdex holders or Comdex users, but it's also a matter of pretty much the entire Cosmos ecosystem to get involved and to be sure that the protocol is governed well, the risk on the protocol is taken care of so that, no Luna-like incidents ever happen again with the stablecoin we've built. So in that regard, we realized that it's important to get a huge part of this ecosystem involved in the governance process. And ultimately, the kind of best process that we could think of was to airdrop this governance token to, vast majority of this Cosmos ecosystem. So currently, the Harbor airdrop is still live. It's claimable until the 26th of February, which is a few days from the time of this recording. And folks can basically we've airdropped this to across 23 different chains in the Cosmos ecosystem. So people who have hold those tokens or stake those tokens are eligible. They can head over to the Harbor app. There's a few steps you have to kind of perform as actions on the application, and as soon as you complete those, you can kind of start claiming your airdrop, which ultimately translates to voting power on the protocol, and it accrues value as the protocol earns revenue. And as you kind of earn that voting power, it incentivizes you to be a good governor of the protocol to ensure that there's a sustainable stream of revenue and the risk is well managed.
Thank you, Siddarth. I appreciate the share on that. It's very helpful. Our platform is built on blockchain as well, and we have a big blockchain following here, and this is just really exciting. So thank you. Siddarth, we'd like to talk a little bit about tech. We're a technology publication focused on emerging tech. Could you maybe share with us some of that emerging technologies that you might be leveraging in your tech stack today?
For sure. For us, we've always been highly DeFi focused. Myself coming from a background in traditional finance, I would say finance is pretty much all I know and think about. My co-founder himself, he's as I said, a computer scientist. He's run, Ethereum miners himself. He's been a Bitcoin user since 2013. So he's got a well-rounded understanding of the technology. And together we kind of think of building a tech stack that will ultimately be utilized by several different industries to kind of create their own, customized solutions. So in that regard, when we think about DeFi, we think about all of finance as essentially a kind of a large, you could say, a structure that's built off tiny bricks or tiny Legos, as I like to call them. Each Lego kind of represents a particular primitive that exists in the space of traditional finance or in the space of DeFi, where, every kind of financial instrument is basically a composition of multiple different Legos put together to create that final output. So in terms of our approach towards building what we've built, we thought of, rather than, first focusing on the product, is to first focus on those Legos to create that infrastructure layer so that people can utilize multiple different Legos of different primitives in the world of finance and the world of DeFi, and then can ultimately build their own, use cases based on what ultimately serves them best. So in that regard, the way DeFi has kind of evolved in the past year, especially with all the massive collapses that we've seen in the form of FTX, Celsius, Voyager and the likes, it makes a strong case for DeFi. And having a tech stack like ours, which is, basically a plug and play set of modules that can be utilized to build any kind of DeFi, is just reducing the barriers to entry for anyone who wants to create their own application in the DeFi space, and also kind of improves the whole go-to-market for anyone who's a developer or a builder in the space trying to build DeFi.
Thank you, Siddarth. Appreciate that. Really do. And Siddarth, we're going to end today with the last question here. You can maybe share some gems, something from your career experience that might be helpful for those looking to grow their career in either fintech, tech, or entrepreneurship.
I kind of always say that maybe it's a little bit biased from my own experience, but I've always found that crypto and entrepreneurship, put together, aren't really things that someone can teach you. It's only people who kind of have the initiative and the will to learn it themselves that can actually learn those things. Like in order to be a doctor, there's a doctor's degree you have to kind of get. Once you have the degree in hand is when, the world allows you to be a doctor. Once you have a degree in hand is when the world allows you to be a chartered accountant and so on. But there is no real degree for being someone in the crypto space. I think every single person I've met, successful and who's done well in the space has been a self-taught and self-learned person in the crypto space. So I believe that honestly, there's no real barriers to entry to building a career in crypto. It's just the biggest barrier is the willpower itself, or the will to kind of learn and kind of go through adversities and conquer things. So yeah, I think my only kind of the biggest learning I would say that I've had throughout the career is nothing is impossible to learn in the space of crypto. The ethos of open source are something that crypto thrives on. So everyone's work is open source. You can learn from everything that's out there, and all the information you need is available free of cost. There's no barrier of a degree that stops you from being a professional in this space.
Thank you, Siddarth. You're absolutely right. And that really kind of resonates with our entrepreneurs and startup founders here in our audience. this space is fairly new. And just like entrepreneurship, when you get out there and make something of yourself, there's a lot of times, especially if it's emerging tech, you don't have a degree or anything that's accredited around the type of industry that maybe you're starting. So I appreciate that share. And it was a pleasure having you. And of course, I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
Thanks a lot, Brian. It was a great time chatting with you today.
Bye for now.